It's time for the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House in Eddy Street Commons. The Mike Brey Radio Show is presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. The Mike Brey Radio Show is also presented by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Xfinity, First Source Bank, Great Clips, Papa John's, St. Joseph Health System, South Bend Orthopedics, and O'Rourke's Public House. Also sponsoring tonight's show is Primrose Mishawaka and Legacy Heating and Air. Now, let's go live to O'Rourke's Public House for the Mike Brey Radio Show. Here's your host, Jack Nolan.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to O'Rourke's Public House for the Mike Brey Radio Show. I am Jack Nolan. He, of course, is Mike Brey. It's been a while since we've done one of these with the Christmas break and Thursday night games. It was before the IU game. So a lot has happened, but let's start with this week, and let's start with last night after playing great offense on Saturday against Pitt and still losing. You were kind of up against it early. It was as much a must-win situation this early in the season as you've been in for a while, but I love the way your team responded. I thought that was your best 40 minutes in terms of battling throughout a game.
Totally agree with you, Jack, and it would be hard to be at 1-3 right now. You get in a hole like that in league play. So we were up against it, and I was really proud of how our guys reacted. It wasn't a very pretty game offensively, but we kind of stuck our nose in there and defended and rebounded and made really key plays, and I love what we did from the foul line. You know, we've not shot free throws as well as I thought we would have before the season started. 28 for 32. Hopefully that jump starts us now, and that becomes more of a weapon for us.
An 88%, and you've really worked on that, and I know anybody who's played basketball knows that free throws can be a mental thing.
No question.
And right now, folks at home are watching some of the highlights of the Pittsburgh game where you played so well offensively, but it got to the point where it was dipping down there into the 60s where you were running drills where basically you get 2 points for a miss and 1 point for a make, and the misses kept winning, and the guys kept running. So, I mean, I think that was the way to set the message, and it really motivated, I think, them to get that focus back.
And you know what's interesting? You can overcoach free throws, too, and make it even more of maybe a mental burden. We didn't do anything with free throws the last week, and we made 20 out of 20. I just stayed away from all of that and kind of mentioned to them, get to the foul line on your own, and you know, the guys that know they need to get better, they go in and get reps. So we didn't do any of that game pressure team stuff. And maybe changing the atmosphere helped a little bit. And
you changed the starting lineup. Did you get out of that move, putting in freshman Matt Ryan, bringing Bonzie Colson off the bench where he was so good last year? Did you get everything out of it that you wanted to?
Yeah, and I think for Bonzie was a little bit of an adjustment night. You know, what's so great is, and I think this is what permeates through our group and why we have a chance to get to March and do this and play in this tournament again, is, you know, when I go in to talk to Bonzie about, hey, we're going to do it differently. I need you as the energy guy coming off the bench. We want to come out a little differently. We're going to start Matt Ryan. And Bonzie kind of cuts me off and says, Coach, whatever we need to do to get a league win. You know, his attitude was great. He missed some ones around the bucket last night that he never misses. And I think he'll be a great rhythm for us. And, you know, we'll start the same way on Saturday. Are we going to do that the rest of the season? I don't know. But right now, we kind of liked how we got started last night. We got in a better start offensively last night, and I think that helped us.
Well, and again, when you talk about the necessity to rebound, one of the reasons he may have missed some of the shots is they were big inside. They had out-rebounded a very physical Virginia team, 41-29 on Saturday in that upset victory, and you matched them rebound for rebound last night.
They did. They pounded us on the offensive board a little bit, and they're going to with the lineup we played, just that they don't beat us with it, and I thought we did a good job holding our own. We did a very good job getting key rebounds at different times in the game. And, you know, Bonzie, we know, rebounds. I thought Zach was big in there. You know, the one thing that was impressive about Matt Ryan is he gets 7 rebounds, and he sticks his nose in there and he battles. And that's something that he's shown in practice, so we want to continue to build on that.
I mean, he came in here with a reputation as a shooter, and he is a great shooter. What I noticed last night, I mentioned to Torres, a little bit of freshman quickness. When you're playing against that higher defense, you don't quite square up, you shoot a little quick. That will come. But in terms of the other areas, 6 weeks ago, he couldn't guard very well. 6 weeks ago, he didn't know how to battle. Right now he's guarding and rebounding. In terms of rapid improvement, where does he rank with some of the other players you've seen?
Yeah, I think there's great toughness with this kid. Mentally and physically, and very coachable. He's very bright. The one thing that's always been evident, he's not afraid to be physical and stick his nose in there. He did a great job with his body from June until the start of practice. He's up to about 218 pounds. He was coming off that hip surgery, and he wants to be good and he wants to win. There's a great frame of mind there. And our older guys have really helped bring him along. When you're a freshman playing with Demetrius, Steve, VJ, Zach, Bonzi, Austin, guys that have been around, that really helps a young guy.
You got a lot of questions at your press conference today about, well, did you make the change because Bonzi and Zach aren't in sync or rhythm? And I don't really think that's the case. You've scored a lot of points. You're still third in the nation in offensive efficiency. But from my perspective, I know you got guys who can handle the ball. They're good off the dribble. And I know you've been encouraging people to attack. You want Steve to attack. You want Demetrius to attack. You want VJ to attack. When there's only one big guy in there, the lanes are much more open. Is that one of the reasons as well?
It is. It opened the floor, and you're right. Bonzi and Zach have played together the majority of the minutes, and still our offensive efficiency's in the top 5. But I think that's one of the reasons we got to the foul line so much, Jack. When we had a more open floor, and Matt Ryan happened to be that second big guy, whatever you want to call it, now Steve, and especially, of course, Demetrius in the second half, it was a free throw shooting contest for him. And the floor is open for those two guys to get in there and make plays. The floor is also open for whoever the big is, Zach, Austin Torres, Bonzi Colson, to come up and ball screen and roll. And now you're rolling down the middle of that lane, and the defense is put in a tough spot because are you going to help off that shooter in the corner, or are you going to help on the roll? And you saw Zach got a lot of stuff rolling down the lane last night.
And to me, it seems to be the continuing adjustment to the new rules on how you can defend. You had some trouble on that from a defensive aspect back in November, especially at Advocare. What can you do? Other teams got to the line, but it's also different in that last year maybe if people forced drives, and right now you want them to force drives, but they didn't get a benefit from it. Now when they force drives and somebody steps in their way, they get to the line.
They really do, and it's one of the things I think we still have to be better at defensively. Pitt scores 20 points from the foul line on us. Last night, they get to the line 17 times. They missed a couple. The team we play on Saturday, Duke, they score 20 points a game from the line. So everyone has adjusted their defense in lieu of these rules and have even played a little bit more zone, so you're not fouling.
When you go back to the Pitt game a little bit, and what a remarkable game it was offensively. You shot 54%, you hit 9 threes, and you end up losing the game by 4. But the problem was you fell behind by 18 in both halves, and I think that's another reason why you might have shifted it up, because as well as Bonzi and Zach play together, you needed to get out of the gate more quickly, and for whatever reason it wasn't happening with that combo. But it really did. You got great opportunities. Neither team shot it real well last night, and I'm not sure why, other than both teams really battling inside. They made those shots tough.
I think it was lake effect snow and 15 degrees, one of those games. We've had many of those through my career here where it's just one of those rough nights, and our crowd was great. Our student body was great. It was great to have them back. But as far as, the Pitt game, they get off to such a great start, and they're really shooting it well. Not all of it was defensive breakdowns. They made some tough things, and now you're digging out of a hole the whole way. I loved our battle. I loved that we came back and actually had a chance to, win the game, but we couldn't get a key defensive stop when we needed to against Pitt. We got enough of them at key times last night. So, I think it's an area of growth for our group.
I told you after the Pitt game that I've been doing these games since the early 80s, especially in the first half. That's among the top 3 offensive performances I have ever seen by another team, because you did rotate, you did defend, and then they're making 23-foot threes. And then they would go inside. They were terrific, but I want to talk about Demetrius Jackson.
Well, the one thing about that Pitt game that does disturb me, and again, we take our hat off to Pitt. They played great. They earned it. They kicked our butt. But I am very disappointed in the ACC and the scheduling that week. Pitt played at home on Wednesday night against Georgia Tech. We play in Boston on Thursday night, get back here about 1:32 a.m. Friday. Pitt has an extra day of prep. That never happens. It kind of snuck up on me on the league schedule. And I just didn't think that was really, fair way to prepare. Again, credit to the Pit. They put it on us, but I'm disappointed in the league scheduling format there, and I just, it's never happened before. I guess TV dictated it. I'll talk to the league when I have a break.
I think that's a good point. And folks, he talked to me about this on Wednesday before you even went to Boston. It worried you, and I was, joking you. This was a Saturday, Monday turnaround in the skies. But the thing about the old Saturday, Monday turnarounds was both teams were Saturday, Monday-ing.
Yes.
So I suppose in a 4-point loss that could have had a big
it was
role.
just I don't know how that snuck up on us. Again, Pitt they've reinvented themselves offensively. They're really good. The interesting thing about the two teams we played this week is the graduate transfer phenomenon. Both of these teams
have rebuilt themselves.
They've rebuilt themselves in 1 year with 3 graduate transfers. These are 22, 23-year-old guys, and more power to both Jamie Dixon and Brian Gregory. I mean, I take my hat off to them because it almost trumps what you're trying to do maybe in your program by, okay, now a sophomore is going to play.
Building by classes.
Yeah, I mean, like last night in the matchup, we're going to start Matt Ryan. Okay, he's going to start matched up against a graduate transfer who's 23. So it's an interesting phenomenon. We have not done it here. We've done the undergraduate transfer. Football took a graduate transfer, I believe a young man from Cal. But it has really kind of changed the landscape. 3 programs in our league, Pitt, Georgia Tech, and Louisville, have put themselves in the NCAA tournament, definitely right in there in the discussion with that. So it's, as a staff, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, we may need to investigate this.
And certainly, University of Notre Dame would be interested in people that already have a college degree. They've demonstrated they could do it. And when you look at Georgia Tech, they were picked 13th. And Brian Gregory, heck of a coach, did a great job at Dayton. But in 4 previous years, he was not able to get it done. And this seems to be the missing ingredient. And they used a philosophy. They got kids to come home. I think all but one of those transfers is an Atlanta area native who came home after they graduated to play for the hometown team.
I think it's I told him last night, we're good friends, I thought it's a great philosophy to get those kids coming back to Atlanta. They're old. The kid Smith, we played against him at Virginia Tech last year, and he graduates, so he has the freedom to go and play at Georgia Tech. So it is an interesting phenomenon in college basketball. It is troubling to a lot of coaches because the mid-major guys feel their rosters are being rated, and they may be, and they are. They may be right. So it is a big topic of discussion in men's basketball. What do we do with the graduate transfer? Do we make him sit out a year, just like an undergraduate, but get a 6th year? One argument is a legitimate graduate program is 2 years anyways. So, why don't you come and give 2 years? So there's one side of it that says when a young man graduates, which is everything we're pointing to in this business, he should be able to do whatever he wants. And that's a great point too. So it is a tricky debate right now, but you do have, when I was at Delaware, I had some guys that after their 4th year, they had another year eligibility, really good players. I think I would have lost them in this day and time. They didn't even think of it back then. And thank God, or I wouldn't have got the Notre Dame job.
Well, and I guess from a recruiting standpoint, you've got to recruit so much now. You're recruiting underclassmen. You're looking at the AAUs. You were looking at underclass transfers. Now do you have to start getting a roster of guys who are going to graduate and have a year of eligibility and go court them? And is there a level of uncomfortableness that a mid-major coach or even somebody in the ACC, you took a call from Mike Brey. What's going on here? Well, how do you recruit those kids?
Well, again, they're under the same rules while they're still playing as an undergraduate. You can't.
But intermediaries can do it. You're right. I misspoke there. But people can spend out feelers. A friend. Information
in our business flows very freely by way of a high school coach or an AAU coach or a shoe company rep. That information flows on a daily basis. So I guess that's a waiver wire we better watch in the spring and see what's out there.
Before we wrap up this segment, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Demetrius Jackson and his continuing development as a leader. Again, going back to the Pitt game, the point I wanted to make with that was in both halves, when you fell behind by 18, he almost single-handedly brought you all the way back. He got to within 4 in the first half, and then when they came back with that next knockdown and you're down by 18 again, most teams would have folded. Good teams would have folded. He got you all the way back to within 2, and then last night a shot wasn't falling. But he did everything else, and I mean, I've never seen a guy work that hard off the dribble. He had 3 or 4 Tech players who literally fell over because they couldn't keep up with him.
I'm really pleased with his development, Jack. We are asking him to do a lot mentally and physically, and he continues to accept that challenge every day. You're right. What was so mature about his game last night was jump shot really wasn't falling. They're face guarding him once he gives it up. They don't want him to get it back. So it's work just to get the ball back, and I thought he did a great job of distributing and getting the ball to people. And then once we got to the bonus, understanding the new rule and driving and getting to the line to score.
13 of 14 from the line, and he came very close to being only the second Notre Dame player to ever have a triple-double. He had 9 rebounds and 8 assists, so it was a great performance. We have lots of questions from our audience here at O'Rourke's for Coach Brey, and we will get to those questions right after this first time out. It's the Mike Brey Radio Show, presented by TireRack.com, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Making our community brighter, it's what Nika electrical contractors do every day through community involvement efforts like sponsoring the Notre Dame Basketball Youth Experience, which gives area youth groups a trip to Purcell Pavilion to see Coach Brey's Fighting Irish in action. The Nika contractors and electrical workers of Local 153 preparing Michiana for a brighter tomorrow. Stan Williams of Mishawaka is here. We've already answered the question, but it was a good one, so I'll read it again. Why did you start Matt Ryan? To open up the floor. That was one of the reasons. Dan Lynch is here from Granger. Any thoughts on going to a 1-3-1 on defense for the entire game?
Haven't really played around, with a 1-3-1, traditionally in our 16 years. That's not been a zone we've looked at. We've played our 2-3, and we played it a little bit last night, and it helped us some just to change the rhythm. The only other zone look we've given is kind of a 1-2-2 look, matching up that way. We really haven't put it in this year, but who knows? Stay tuned.
Well, you were almost leaning towards maybe 2-3 was what the defense that this team had to play, but last night you were pretty good man.
We were, and I think, it's game to game. I mean, I always remember the second half of the Illinois game. We got in our 2-3 zone and sat in it and rode it out, and you just never know. Sometimes you think you're going to go in it for 1 or 2 possessions, and you play it for 10 minutes or you play it for a half, so we get reps in it almost daily to have it ready.
Doug Buell's here again from Michigan City, Indiana, season ticket holder, never misses a show. Great win last night. So far, what has been your biggest surprise with this team?
Biggest surprise. Probably starting when we had them in the summer, and I don't think anything's changed. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. These are some real high achieving guys. I think a great example of that is what they did academically. Our team GPA being over a 3.0, eight guys had their highest. So they're really hard on themselves, and I think it's a fine line of, you want to be hard and have that high bar as far as an individual player and what you bring to the team. But we got to enjoy it a little bit and not have the weight of the world on our shoulders and get over mistakes and move on quickly. I think we've gotten better at that, but it's still something. You can want it too bad sometimes. You tie yourself up in knots.
Jerry Liss is here. He's always here from South Bend. Coach, when are you going to break out the turtleneck?
We should have throwback Fear the Mock turtleneck night. I really believe so. I don't know where our marketing
you can hand
people.
Them out.
Yes, we'll give the students mock T-shirts. We'll just do it, and I do think we should do that. I'm game to go back to my roots. It's been a while, but. I'm game anytime.
Brandon Liss is also here from South Bend. Coach, it seems like every game Demetrius Jackson does something that really makes us admire how athletic he really is. Do you have a favorite DJ athletic play?
some of the rebounds he gets, and he got a couple last night early where he just goes above the crowd at 6'1", it's really kind of scary, that athletic ability and that explosion. I think the key thing with Demetrius is what we do with him recovery-wise on days like today after a game where he's going to play a lot of minutes, and he will continue to do that. We have to be very, very smart. He and Steve are guys that log the heaviest minutes, how we get them recovered and get their legs back under them so they can do it again.
Leon is here from Hong Kong, and this question is going to give you a chance to brag on a couple of your players. I don't sure you want to answer the actual premise.
Okay.
Coach, if you're a GM of an NBA team who needs a guard, would you draft Jackson or Vastoria, and why?
Well, both of those guys, I think, certainly both of them have NBA potential. Demetrius right now is thought of by that league to be almost a surefire first-round guy. And it'll be interesting to see if he leaves this year or comes back next year. We'll support him with whatever he does and really help him get the right information to make that decision. But I think one of the things that Steve Vastoria has quietly grown on some NBA people. They're intrigued about this guy. He's got good size. He weighs 212 pounds. His feel for the game is off the charts. He's got a whole nother year with us next year. So both of those guys are intriguing. Don't make me pick. Don't make me choose between the two of them.
And also, Steve's a lot more physical than people thought he was.
Yeah, he is. He's, I think a key play, we watched it today. I thought a play last night that kind of made us believe and the building believe and maybe Georgia Tech doubt is Steve dives on the floor for a loose ball in the corner, gets it to D, who fires it down the court to Zach for a dunk. It puts us up 7, I think.
That's the signature play of the game.
And a key, that should be. And we watched that today, and that was, and it's Steve Vastoria diving on the floor.
There it is.
Boom. Yeah, there it is. This is the play. And that puts us up 6. But it was a play where you're feeling good and starting to believe.
Great job by our producer Ben to dial that up as we mentioned.
That was quick,
Thank you.
man.
Gary Rivers is always here unless there's some major medical malady. That's the only thing that's kept him from a show. Coach, great win last night. Solid 40-minute effort. There's been a lot of high-scoring games in college basketball this year. Has the 30-second shot clock been a factor in the higher scores, or are the teams more offensive-minded this year?
I think all of the above, and I would add the new rule. And not the new rule where fouls are being called because they're going to be called more aggressively on touch fouls. I think players have really adjusted and are easily beat off the dribble now more, and they don't want to touch. So if you get ahead of steam and you're able to get in there more. I think it's harder. Our guys are they've learned through the November and the preseason, oh my God, I can't do that anymore. So for an offensive player on the perimeter, you can get by your guy easier. 30-second clock, no question about it. Now you look at defensive field goal percentages, and ours is one that has to get better, and last night hopefully is a step in the right direction. But everybody's field goal defensive is higher. It's, even those defensive teams, the numbers are different. Virginia's a great example. And I think it's all of the above.
We've got a bunch more questions for Coach. We got to get some more breaks in. One more segment of questions for Coach, then we're going to get Austin Torres up here. But first, this time out, it's the Mike Brey Radio Show live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Tonight's show is being brought to you by TireRack.com. Revolutionizing tire buying since 1979. They've got their game plan down. Their team of experts includes more than 8,000 independent recommended installers ready on the sidelines. And their very own test results and consumer ratings and reviews help make buying a new set of tires as easy as a layup. TireRack.com. Find, deliver, install. Patrick's here all the way from L.A. What changes are you going to make for your upcoming game against Duke?
We're not changing too much. We're just, I think what we do is try and get a feel for what the other team does offensively and communicate that to our guys, different routes defensively and sets and things that they like to do. This is a very different team from last night. We played Georgia Tech, who feeds the post over and over and runs a lot of controlled sets. And Duke kind of free flows. They do not throw it down to a big guy. They ball screen, and then they really isolate and look to drive with their really talented offensive guys. So it's a much different preparation. Today was a day where we really couldn't do much physically. We'll get into that, tomorrow, watch some film of them and prepare. But, I would hope that we can handle the atmosphere better than we did last year. It was kind of new for our program to play in Cameron Indoor Stadium, and it has a little bit of a mystique, so to speak. Probably not a little bit, has a lot of bit of mystique. And maybe our guys were a little bit knocked back on their heels last year. I would hope this returning group, since we were in it last year, understand it and cannot get caught up in it.
And you've been in some similar environments already this year.
Illinois. I mean, the Illinois environment was crazy. Now Illinois' team's different, but it was crazy. I think when you get in these atmospheres, you can't play too fast. You can't let the crowd make you play too fast offensively or make you try and do things to answer back a run individually. And that's where Demetrius and Steve, our guards, have to be fabulous at controlling the tempo and settling us down.
The next two questions are for Austin. So before we get Austin up here, talk a little bit about what he has meant to your program, a local young man that a lot of folks assumed was part of a package deal with Demetrius, and that I know you wouldn't do that. And he really has become a guy like that short reliever that when you're in trouble and need to change a game or save a game, you call on him.
Well, I saw him play a heck of a lot the summer before his senior year, and kept growing on me. And, for him, we redshirted him as a freshman. He's, you've heard me use the phrase energy guy, defender. The one thing about Austin, maybe as good as anybody on our team, he knows who he is, and he knows what he needs to do for us. The other thing is he has an unbelievable attitude. For example, he doesn't get in the game last night. Our rotation's a little bit differently, but he's been unbelievable about coming back the next day and being ready, or the next game and being ready. And that's maturity, and that's a great team guy. I love the fact that we have two local guys on our team. I always say I got a Granger guy and a Mishawaka guy. I got it covered. I got the whole area covered. And he's, we've got him for a while. Again, we redshirted him, so he's going to be around a while. But he's a key for us. He's, you think about last year putting his chest on Michigan State's frontline guys, and just different games this year. He gives us an energy, been around, really smart basketball player, and love his personality. There's a personality about him where, you can have, as a coach, you can have a relationship with him that's kind of more man-to-man. You can kid with him a little bit 10 minutes before practice, and then he's just going to go and do his work. I've been really, I've liked my relationship with him, and it continues to grow.
Well, there were turning points in last year's season that laid the foundation for that ACC championship, and there was probably no bigger building block than the 19 minutes he played against Michigan State, shutting down Brandon Dawson, who ended up with 16 points and 18 rebounds. But I think he got maybe 2 and 4 when Austin was in there. And then he got 11 points against Purdue, and he's sitting right here with his family enjoying some food.
Another game that was a key that we talk about all the time as a coaching staff, your first-round game against Northeastern is a dogfight. He comes off the bench, blocks the shot, runs the court, gives us great energy at a key time, and he's mature enough to know, what do you need tonight? And last night, he didn't get any. But he didn't come in today hanging his head, come in like, let's go, we're going to Durham. May need me for 12 in Durham. May need me for 18 in Durham.
Well, this is becoming his role, because as we look at some of his highlights right now here on the Mike Brey Radio Show, if you're watching on Watch ND or you're here at O'Rourke's, last year you had him on after he played in 14 games. He's played in 14 games again.
Wow.
And he's on again.
That's good karma.
So this is another role for him. We're going to bring him right back up here right after this timeout. It is the Mike Brey Radio Show, presented by TireRack.com, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show, and please welcome our special player guest tonight, Austin Torres, the 6'7" junior forward out of Granger, who still after this year has 2 years of eligibility left. He is majoring in business. His mom's a high-powered accountant, so that's probably a good major for you. And you've moved on to management consulting, and you might even be going overseas after this semester to broaden your horizons. What do you think you're going to do with this eventually, this management consulting degree?
It's just something that, I like improving things. I took a class last semester, Innovation and Design, with Wendy Enks. It's one of those courses where, we got to try to improve something at Notre Dame. And in my group was the traffic flow in and out of Notre Dame Stadium before and after football games. And, it was something that, a lot of people, I know it's frustrating. I've lived here my entire life in Granger, so I know that we can be there for 30 to 45 minutes, up to an hour after the game. And I know families want to get home, especially when it's a night game. So, it's something that I like to work with people, and, something that I want to do in the future.
That's why we do the post-game radio show, because everybody's out in the parking lot. What did it mean to you to hear Coach talk so highly of you up here?
Coach, like Coach said, our relationship, it's man-to-man. We can, have fun while we're stretching, talking, and then, we can sit down and have a serious conversation, either about basketball or school or, what's going on with the team. But, overall, I think, Coach has done a really good job, talking to me, keeping me positive and having, keeping that energy, because, it's one of the roles on the team that, I have to embrace and that I'm going to have to continue to embrace for, hopefully this team to be successful.
You also get a lot of support from the fans. I mean, and you
They
hear
love
it too.
him.
As soon as you, and a matter of fact, whenever you don't play him, I get tweets.
Yeah, no, I know.
Why didn't
I know.
Austin play?
I know. I went to breakfast this morning. I had to answer that all morning, and no, and I love that. That's great about having a local guy. He really does energize our crowd, no question.
And it's like you made A.J. Burgett a captain this year, and one of the things is energy is important. You're always providing energy, and I'm not going to make you do it, but you've got your hoot that you do at certain times, and it's almost become like a wake-up call. I've even heard Coach look at you and go, Austin, everybody needs just to get that little hoo-hoo thing you do to get people going.
Absolutely.
Hoo-hoo
Yeah.
Well, I'm not even going to try it, because first of all, if I did, I'd blow out Bob Henning's speakers.
I would probably do the exact same thing. So
and where did that come from, though?
It just kind of happened one day. I heard it on South Park, and me and Zach kind of picked it up.
It's
I
can't do it.
Yeah.
But in the arena, it just echoes.
No,
yeah. I mean, if there was any glass in there, it'd get shattered.
So yeah, we just continue to do it, and I think Bonzi and Rex, when they came here, they've started to embrace it. Matt Ryan, so it's something that as long as it's keeping the team energized, it's just something I'm gonna continue to do.
Now, your mom played soccer here back from 1990 through 93, so you're a legacy athlete here. What's it mean to you to be playing at the same place where your mom earned a monogram?
It's always been a dream for me to go to the University of Notre Dame. It's a great academic school, but also I grew up a fan of the athletics and Coach Brey's team. I remember, I think the first team that I really got into was Chris Thomas and Terran Francis's team when they played, and ever since then I've always been a Notre Dame basketball fan, and then also obviously Notre Dame football fan. But to follow my grandfather and then my mom's footsteps, it's it's really special to continue it in the family, and hopefully down the road when I have children, hopefully they'll want to do the same thing.
It is a coincidence that you're on here after 14 games again this year. So I had last year's numbers. You haven't scored as many points this year, and part of that may be been a lot more close games because the non-conference schedule was tougher. You've got 19 points, 17 rebounds, but you got 5 block shots and 5 steals, and those are plays that can change a game, Coach.
He's just so active, he can guard any man. He can guard perimeter guys, when he gets out on a ball screen and a guard comes off and he has to switch it, he sits down in a stance, can move his feet with the best of them. He takes charges, he's physical, makes plays, there's no question Zach and Bonzi get tired of dealing with him, playing against him in practice. There's no question about it, and he makes our practices amazingly competitive.
And again, we've got the highlights, and these are all from this year down in Orlando, and some of the great athletic plays you've made. We didn't find the one we ended up on your back, the one where we weren't sure you were going to get up. But again, some spectacular plays, and these are energy plays.
Look at the bench.
Well.
The bench is great. I love it.
It's the energy. That's that energy.
We got a couple questions for you as those highlights roll as well. This one from Gary Rivers. Austin, really appreciate the energy and enthusiasm you bring to the team and fans when you enter the game. Who is the most physical player on the team next to you, of course?
Well, I'd like to say we have a lot of, physical guys on the team, but, one that, you guys won't see until next year is Elijah Burns. I think, he really brings the toughness. He's a big, active frontline guy. He's really strong for, a young kid. But, that's one of the kids that one of the guys on the team I hate when he guards me. It's just, a pain to, try to get offensive rebounds because that's one of the things that, coaches are stressing to me. And, he's one of the kids that will keep me off the glass. And, I really embrace, his energy and his toughness and strength. And, you guys are going to see it in the years to come.
Renee Buell's here from Michigan City, another person who never misses this show and is a season ticket holder. Austin, after you've played a game, do you ever get any quote-unquote advice from your family?
Advice from my family? I always, love obviously seeing my family, coming to the games when they can. Also road games. My mom's actually going to be traveling out to Carolina to watch us against Duke. But, I think one of the things that they try to do is try to work with me on, trying to, keep, positive attitude and, work on, obviously in the pit game. I don't know if you guys were watching, the free throws were abysmal, but, that's something that I've been working on in practice and, trying to get better. But, I think, there's always advice that parents are going to give you that is going to be different than what coaches give you. And I think you have to make sure that you balance between them because ultimately the coaches are the ones that are going to be, the ones putting you on the floor.
Oh, if you could have talked to some of your former players over the last decade about that particular issue. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we'll have an abbreviated version of Austin answering our fast break questions. It's the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show, live from O'Rourke's Public House. Who's your role model?
My mom.
One thing the public would be surprised to learn about you.
I like to tweet.
It's a dangerous question in the area where you grew up. What did you do on your first date?
I went to the movies.
Because I'm sure she still lives here and she can contradict that. What's better for you? Blocking a key shot, grabbing a big rebound, or an alley-oop dunk?
A rebound. Actually, none of those things. I think a charge is the biggest thing.
Ooh.
You didn't put that on there.
Ooh. He's getting more minutes. One thing you always hear from Coach Brey in practice.
Get another one. Got to get another kill.
The money question.
The money stop.
Assistant coach who is most like Coach Brey.
Oh, Rod Balanis. That's easy.
Best nickname on the team, and who has it?
Matt Gregory. It's Roger from American Dad.
Toughest Notre Dame player to guard.
Zach.
Best defender on the team.
Steve.
Best leaper on the team.
Me.
Best dunker on the team.
VJ.
Worst dunker on the team.
Ponzi.
Best dresser on the team.
Zach.
Worst dresser on the team.
Bonzi.
Best singer on the team.
Zach.
Worst singer on the team.
Ooh, Rex.
Best comedian on the team.
Matt Gregory.
Freestyle swimming race, 1 lap. Who wins, you or Coach Brey?
Oh, it's me. Sorry, Coach.
At Knollwood. We're
going to have a swim-off.
4th of July.
Oh, we talked on the TV show. There's going to be a swim-off. We might sell tickets. Coaches versus Cancer fundraiser.
I like it.
The Torres Brey swim-off.
He better start working now. I know he's working every day, but he better start working now.
You got longer arms.
Nah.
Probably a bigger feet.
He's good. He's
a good swimmer?
He's very good.
All right. Austin, great
job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate
You're the
it.
best. You're the best.
We'll be back to wrap things up on this edition of the Mike Brey Radio Show right after this timeout. Welcome back to the Mike Brey Radio Show. Saturday, a little after 2 p.m. at Cameron Indoor Stadium on ESPN2 and, of course, the Notre Dame Basketball Radio Network. So turn the sound down on ESPN2. Although I'm not even sure who's doing it. Is Dick doing it?
It is Shulman and Billis.
Okay, well, 2 of the best.
The A-team.
2 of the
best. The A-team's coming to town.
Very good guys.
Yep.
You already know this. Duke has won 289 of their last 308 games in Cameron. And since 04-05, they're 179-12. Only Kansas better. You guys were up there until that rough year that you had.
Yes.
The first year of the ACC. And, of course, Notre Dame's never won at Duke, 0-7. You were on the sidelines and the other bench the one time Notre Dame came really close. 1994, the Irish were 5-11 coming in. Heartbreak. 74-72. Marty Clark.
Marty Clark, young man I recruited out of St. Joe, Westchester over there in Illinois, tip in at the buzzer. Notre Dame really deserved to win that. Maybe we can get that one back Saturday. Let's get that one back.
Because Notre Dame had the ball with 14 seconds left, and the game was tied. And I'm not going to hang the player out to dry, but somebody dribbled off his foot out of bounds. Monty Williams had 34 in that game. Grayson Allen, 20.5 points per game. Brandon Ingram, freshman, 16.4 points, 6.1 rebounds. I'm on the panel that votes for Player of the Week, and every week they're nominated, those two guys. So it's not going to be easy, but I feel a lot better after the way your team was gritty and tough the other night.
I agree, Jack. You know, they're coming off a tough loss, losing at Clemson the other night. They're really gifted offensively. You know, they lost 3 first-round lottery guys, but they've reinvented quickly, as they can do. They put 90 on the board really easy, so you're not going to stop them. We got to be able to slow them down a little, but we're going to have to score to be successful there. We have to get into a great offensive rhythm and score to escape. And again, as I said at the top of the show, I would hope that this group is a little better suited to handle the atmosphere since they've been in it once already.
Well, you're right with Illinois. Now, we do the game from that basket. I'm going to wear a polo shirt. It gets hot
you're
up
upstairs,
there.
right?
Upstairs, and they
right.
pull the ladder up.
Yeah.
So we can't come down until about 10 minutes after the game. So you really have to worry about your liquid consumption going up to do that game. But, I mean, Illinois, I got a headache at Illinois, and I actually yelled, if anybody caught it, when they lit the fireworks off, I know I was on the air, I just screamed, holy crap, in the middle of the broadcast. I've never done that. I guess it's because everybody loves Raymond. That's okay now. But it was really intense. You were there last year, so hopefully you can deal with the atmosphere and block it out.
Well, they played great against us last year and shot the heck out of the ball. We were never in it, and it was one of those where in the second half you're saying, can we just play running clock and get out of here? And thankfully we went on to Clemson and bounced back and won.
And it was a revenge game for them because you'd already beaten them.
Well, and
then you beat them again.
It's been a good matchup because we've been very competitive in it, and it's been great for our program to have success against the flagship program in this league. Early in our tenure in this league, to beat them 3 out of 4 gives us great credibility in the ACC. I'm really proud of that. But you know what? It'd be great for Notre Dame. What are we, 0-7 in that building over time? Boy, it would be unbelievable to steal one in Cameron Indoor Stadium.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for your efforts again tonight. That'll do it for this week. We are back again next week right here at this time, the Mike Brey Radio Show. Good night, everybody, and go Irish.
Brey Radio Show has been presented by TireRack.com and brought to you by Team Notre Dame partners Sprint, Coke Zero, Under Armour, and Gatorade. The Mike Brey Radio Show is also presented by Delta Airlines, proud to be the official airline of Notre Dame Athletics, Bank of America, Xfinity, First Source Bank, Great Clips, Papa John's, St. Joseph Health System, South Bend Orthopedics, and O'Rourke's Public House.